And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you all for joining us. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's start our phone lines today with Ron in Caldwell. Ron, good morning.
Good morning. I would think that if Mr. Cohen was telling the truth about the payoffs to the president's porno girlfriends, that if he broke the law, that could be enough for the House to impeach the president, but I don't think the Senate's going to go for it, and I've never heard of a sitting president being indicted.
No, on the other hand, Ron, why don't you break that down for me? Why do you think that that's an impeachable offense?
Well, it depends where the money came from. If he used campaign funds, it could be an impeachable offense. If it was underhanded and crooked, it could be an impeachable offense. And if Mr. Cohen was telling the truth and Mr. Mueller is allowed to speak to him on that issue, and the president has problems telling the truth, and if he lies, that could be enough to impeach the president.
Yeah, but the problem is, I mean, Mr. Cohen's a liar, an admitted liar. And back to your logic, if the president has used his own money, that's not a campaign violation. Now, if he used campaign finances, like you said, he could get into a little trouble there. Remember the John Edwards story where John Edwards was paying off his mistress. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
So it's fascinating. Now, Ron, do you find Mr. Cohen credible? I mean, do you find him believable, sir?
Well, I find him credible to the point that he'd be a real fool to lie to Congress because he's already going to the penitentiary. And they'll give him more time. So I don't think he would lie.
Interesting.
But we'll see.
To me, it seemed more like a bunch of excuses to personally attack the president than anything else. I mean, did we really need to know that Mr. Cohen with his, and again, this is my opinion, Ron, we want to hear from you here at KIDO Talk Radio, but that Mr. Cohen is, thought the president was racist and this, that, and the other. If he was that bad, why'd he work for him?
Well, I think the money was good and probably the perks too. The thing is that I haven't heard anything, other than what Mr. Cohen said, but there's a lot of people that are prejudiced, and that's really not a crime unless you act on your prejudice.
Sure. Indeed. Anything else, Ron? We appreciate you waking up on the right side here on KIDO Talk Radio. You've got us up and raring to go.
Okay, have a good day.
All right, thank you. Appreciate Ron in Caldwell. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Here's the president on Michael Cohen.
Very important summit is sort of incredible. And he lied a lot, but it was very interesting because he didn't lie about one thing. He said no collusion with the Russian hoax.
I don't mean to sound like a replay of Sean Hannity, which is a great compliment, but there's no Russian collusion. This should all be over, right?
I think having a fake hearing like that and having it in the middle of this very important summit is really a terrible thing.
I would agree with the president. We'll take your calls at 580-5436. Jim from Middleton joins us now, KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Not bad. Not bad indeed. And you?
Just right, Kevin. Kevin, as we all know, this was a boondoggle. The left knew it wasn't true. The Republicans knew that there was no Russian collusion. The media knew it. But let's assume for just a moment that they didn't. They hired Mueller to go after and investigate this. There was no Russian collusion at all. And like you say, they're going to a different avenue, different road, just trying to take this guy down. This is an abuse of power in the worst order. And people need to push back and call a representative and tell them to get this straightened out, okay? Because we have a bureaucracy, a law enforcement bureaucracy that's out of control. And there's, like you said, there's absolutely no Russian collusion here at all. and you got to look at it for what it is, a witch hunt.
Indeed. And now you have the Southern District going after the president for allegations of things he did before he was president. That, you look at Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort has nothing to do with the Russians. They've gotten him for things that he did well before he knew Donald Trump.
Exactly. And what is it, Kevin? If you don't read somebody their Miranda rights, or you arrest somebody for something completely different, and find out they did something else wrong, well, you got to let them go because your investigation or what have you was on one form or another, or you pulled over this person because of false pretenses or what have you, but you found something when you pulled them over. Yeah, but you didn't have the right to pull them over. We let them people go. And I'm not defending Trump if there's any wrongdoing. But you need to do that in a different form, in a different way, not this way.
Right. In other words, give me a long enough time and unlimited resources, I'll find a crime in anybody.
Exactly. I'd like to see anyone in the Congress and the Senate get investigated for just 2 months, a legitimate investigation, and see what you come up with, Kevin. If you investigated a man for 2 years with the biggest dogs that money can buy, and you haven't come up with anything, it just goes to show you how squeaky clean President Trump really is.
Well, the scary part about this, and whether you're dealing with the county government, the city government, the state government, the government has unlimited resources. And they'll find something on you.
Yeah, it's our tax dollars. And again, the Republicans, Bill Clinton was defended more for having sex in the White House and lying about having his relations with an intern.
Right.
Then the Republicans are fighting for a president who's as clean as any one of them are. It's a shame, Kevin. It just tickles me to see this.
Jim, we appreciate you. Thank you for waking up on the right side. Have a great day.
I will. You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Our great friend Jim from Middleton. Let's go to David in Napa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, David.
Yes, good morning. During this whole thing about improper funds or whatever, this is a giant campaign commercial, and they ought to, something. They've got nothing. They know they've got nothing. This is not even asked and answered, which is grounds for objection. It's badgering. They've got nothing. So what they want to do is they want to throw enough dirt in the air. Like I mentioned 2 days ago, Stormy Daniels had to pay $280,000. Of course, was he on MSNBC for like 31 or 32 days? How long did they do on that? And for this thing to be done, they did it before, a few months earlier, when he went to China to make some deal, and the Southern District of Manhattan indicted somebody that day. So it's not like they don't do it, but they just want to dirty the air. They just want to, have a lot of people, well, I don't know, where there's smoke, there's fire. No, where there's smoke, there's a smoke machine. But again, it's really shameful that the Congress is doing this. And by the way, can I just say one thing about Bill Clinton having sex with an intern, which he didn't? That's not why he was on trial. Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Governor Bill Clinton, on state time, in a state-paid-for conference room, sent a state employee, a trooper, to procure, under false pretenses, another state employee, also on state time. He then, Gloria Steinem in the New York Times notwithstanding, committed 3 crimes that I can think of off the top of my head. He committed a lewd act when he dropped trow and asked her to kiss it. He committed a sexual battery when he groped her from her neck to her knees and back again. And as she was leaving, he basically told her, don't say anything. He threatened her. He subsequently carried out his threat, blocking the raises she could block. That was one of the lies they told. This is a standard tactic with the left. Tell a lie and then catch someone in the lie that you created. She said he stopped her from getting the raises he could stop. The automatic ones that kicked in, he couldn't do that. Monica Lewinsky got an $84,000 a year job. Is that bribery? That a 24-year-old dingbat with the emotional development of a 9-year-old gets an $84,000 a year job? They sent her to the Pentagon, where she got SCI, which is sensitive compartmental encrypted. Okay, that means that the Holy Ghost tells God the Father on an as-need-to-know basis. There are 2-star generals that don't have that. Is that bribery? Is that advancing herself on a way that nobody else in the federal workforce could? That's what he did. That's what he did. There was nothing private about either of those things. But the Democrats just said it's his private life, and of course, everybody lies about sex. Remember that? So that's what they did then, and that's what they're doing now, throwing a lot of smoke in the air and a lot of sand in your face.
Oh, I would agree with you on that. And again, this is the deep state in action, David. And we're seeing this again and again. Michael Cohen, just another patsy.
Yeah. And I love these guys. He's a racist. You want to elaborate on that? Al Sharpton gave him a clean bill of health. Jesse Jackson gave him a clean bill of health. He gave Jesse Jackson free office space, for pity's sake. Okay? His daughter married a Jew, converted to Judaism, and is raising his grandchildren Jewish. But he's a Nazi. He wasn't a Nazi until he ran. Why do you think Whoopi Goldberg said, I don't know this man? Of course you don't. There's the real man you worked with, and there's this cartoon character Nazi that the prostitutes have made. Hitler once, not Hitler, sorry. I meant Goebbels once was asked by a man, why do you want to destroy this man? He's a hero of the Great War, meaning WW1. He's a hero of the fatherland, because he was a Jew. But why do you want to destroy him? He's a hero. And he said, let's see him in 2 weeks when my press gets through with him. And things haven't changed.
David, we appreciate it. Thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio, sir. 580-5436, 580-KIDO, our local report. The House has killed the marriage bill. In other words, it would have set the minimum age of marriage here in Idaho at the age of 16. That has been killed. The Statesman has a little story about it, saying that we need this law. We'll talk a little bit about it next. Plus, your phone calls, Michael Cohen credible. Most of us say no, thankfully. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. A couple stories we are looking at, obviously taking your phone calls on the continued fallout, the coup that continues against the President of the United States. Taking your calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So, from the talented Cynthia Sewell at the Idaho Statesman, Idaho has the highest rate of child marriage in America. According to a national report, House Bill 98 gets shot down. 28 people say yes, 39 say no, and 3 abstain, and this would have made marriage a legal marriage age, in other words, 16. Under current Idaho law, 16 and 17-year-olds just need parental consent to marry. A child under age 16 can marry if a judge consents also. So apparently this was a bipartisan bill. We gave you the details about that on KIDOTalkRadio.com, and it goes to show you that, again, do we need laws to regulate marriage in the state of Idaho? We had Representative Christy Zito talk a little bit about that when she called in this week. And, of course, people are going to say, we need a law to regulate marriage. We need to do this. We need to do that. Your thoughts on that are always welcome. Now, there was a big issue that happened yesterday, and we're going to do a little experiment. We're going to do a little experiment here this morning because many people, many activists have been urging media outlets and this, the voice of the people, to talk about Marsy's Law. In fact, we've had people approach us about Marsy's Law. You need to get such and such on. You need to get such and such on. How we kind of look at it is, if you really care about an issue, you'll call in and talk about it, right? Because otherwise, we're just a mouthpiece of special interest. Now, I always admire our friend Holly from Caldwell or Tom Munns or Tea Party Bob. We love Greg Pruitt of the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. And those folks call in. We have them on as guests and such, and we debate the topics. Now, other people that are proponents of Marsy's Law, they say that they need this bill for victims' rights and such, and it has the backing of some people that would call the establishment. And some people are very concerned about red flag laws in the state of Idaho. In fact, I had somebody Facebook me a message that was an article from Greg Pruitt. And basically it was red flag laws coming into Idaho. Now, it's fascinating that now apparently they're going to take this back to the Senate, or they're going to work on this again. And probably Marsy's Law won't happen. Now, what was it? JFAC actually passed Medicaid expansion. And most people think they'll go with that recommendation. I don't know how they found the money, but they did. But when it comes to Marsy's Law, is this a big issue for you? What's an issue for me are the red flag laws. What's an issue for me is the Attorney General, William Barr, during his hearing saying he is in favor of the red flag laws. And what red flag laws essentially mean is that if you have an issue with your neighbor and you can make this up, it's kind of like the oppressive trespassing bill we'll get to in a minute that was passed by the geniuses in the last session. So you basically you have an issue with your neighbor. You could say he's unhinged because he yells at his dog. Like Kevin Miller yelling at his dogs. Come on, time to get in. Go to the bathroom. Let's go, 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 go. I swear I must have been a German in my previous life because it's just, that regimentation. But at 580-5436-580-KIDO, so there was a big march yesterday at the State House led by the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. Great job, guys. Appreciate them. Greg Pruitt and Tammy Nichols, Representative Nichols, did a video talking about red flag laws. But if, in fact, your job is to be a member of the legislature and your job is to make sure that this bill gets through, why do you even have any type of question when it comes to the Second Amendment here in Idaho? So for the people that passed the law in the Senate, they thought, hey, we'll get it through the House. That's not going to happen. Now it goes back to committee and it goes back to this, that, and the other. Sure, we want to protect victims, but the idea of red flag laws in Idaho, in anywhere, the Attorney General, Trump's Attorney General, saying he's in favor of it, that's darn right disturbing, is it not? At 580-5436-580-KIU. Because, again, you can go up to someone, and who gets along with their neighbors all the time? Now, I have great neighbors. I love them. At one time, I didn't have great neighbors. I had the motorcycle gang, the Sons of Anarchy, living next door to me. And then we had to call the police on them. They broke down my fence. They yelled and screamed and did all sorts of crazy, weird things. And you're like, dude, this is not Southern California. This is Star, Idaho. And if they would have had an issue with me, they could have made up charges to take my weapons. Or vice versa. Basically, what a red flag law does is allows law enforcement to come into your home and get your weapons without any due process. And we're not vilifying law enforcement. It's how the legislation has been written. And you have to prove yourself that you're capable of carrying weapons and having the Second Amendment, the right to the Second Amendment, all in the name of safety. That does not seem like anything American to me. And the opponents of Marsy's Law say this is the issue with it. At 580-5436-580-KIDO. Now, for those people that say you need to talk about it all the time, I don't really see the buzz going on. So we'll see if we get some reaction from you. How about this? Our time is 6:27. You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's get you to work safely and on time.
Larry Gebert.
Thank you, Larry Gebert. So, again, at 580-5436-580-KIDO, your thoughts on Marsy's Law. Are you glad that it's gone down and people will go back to the drawing table? Or, in fact, do you think that we missed an opportunity? Obviously, we want to take care of victims. We want to make sure that everyone is taken care of, certainly those people that are victims of crimes here in the Gem State and throughout the country. But do you do it at the expense of the Second Amendment? We will talk about that. Plus, people are ripping the president. Imagine that, the media ripping the president for saying no to a bad deal. Now, people have said that the president's in over his head, that little Kim is going to run wild, and we're going to give away the farm. Kind of like Obama did with Iran. That didn't happen with this president. and he should be given credit for that. But you will not. He will not get credit for that from our friends in the devious liberal media. Our time is 6:30. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
And don't forget Dave Ramsey following Glenn Beck on KIDO Talk Radio, noon to 3. Get ready for the weekend. Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Not looking good for Mike McCarthy. I saw the story last night on PTI. Joining us now to talk about Mr. McCarthy's adventures of the former Green Bay Packers head coach is Jeff Monasso, and this has to hit you close to home, sir.
I mean, is this really even a story? We saw Mike McCarthy going after refs as early as back in September when Clay Matthews got that roughing the passer call that was a bogus call a game after they lost another game due to a similar call, and he was just going nuts. And I think Packer Nation in Wisconsin was just cheering the guy on, but suddenly this is a story. Former Packers head coach Mike McCarthy is seen in muted video exchanging words with referees following Notre Dame Academy's 1-point loss to Pulaski High School. This is all in suburban Green Bay, and that game ended McCarthy's stepson's basketball season. So I don't know if you've seen the video, but basically you could see McCarthy walking down the stands and kind of following the refs, having a couple of words with them, and then walking away. The whole exchange took maybe a couple of seconds, though we don't know what the words were. You can only imagine, but officials have filed a complaint with Wisconsin High School sports regulatory body over the situation.
Right. Like I said, when I saw it on PTI, it seemed like just hitting the guy while he's down. However, once you're in the limelight and you're done, do you really have a right to privacy? Who knows?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a famous guy, and so probably not. We know that McCarthy has apologized. Notre Dame Academy administrators say they've received a call from the parents involved, McCarthy. They say that they appreciate his outrage and look forward to moving ahead in a faith-centered and esteemed fashion. But this is breaking news all over Wisconsin. I mean, it's leading newscasts. So, maybe it's a little case of kicking him while he's down. Maybe not. If it wasn't Mike McCarthy, we wouldn't know about the story. But on the other hand, it's also a high school basketball game, and where parents should be more reserved and more respectful for the process, even if it is a referee that you may or may not agree with, a call that they made. So
we'll see how it plays out. What's next for McCarthy? Is he going to get a job?
I would have thought that he would have been, one of the top picks, going into the open season and hiring process, but. I'm not sure. I mean, he made plenty of money, in Green Bay in his 13 years before he was fired back in December, and so we'll see.
Right. How different is Green Bay from other NFL towns?
It's different in so many different ways. I mean, first of all, just the makeup of Green Bay. I mean, you've got the small town in flyover country that. It just defies the odds. I mean, every other franchise is in a major city, and you've got this tiny town. Well, I mean, Green Bay's about 100,000, but when you compare it to other cities like Chicago and other major cities in New York and Seattle and things like that. I mean, this is a franchise that should have never made it. But it did, and it's also a franchise that'll never be sold, because back in the day when it was worthless and it was just a couple of guys, you're getting together and playing for the Acme meatpacking company, Curly Lambeau and the guys got together and said, well, if this thing's ever worth anything, and if it's ever sold, all the money's going to go to the local VFW. So it's the only franchise that's not owned. It's basically the people of Green Bay own this team. The fans own this team. And it's really a kind of a neat story, and it means a whole lot to not just the state, but to Packer Nation.
Indeed, a very, very special place. Jeff Monasso, thank you. You have a great weekend.
You too.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. So Sean Hannity very close to President Trump. You can catch him weekday afternoons, 3 to 6, right before Lars Larson on 107.5 FM, 580 AM. KIDO Talk Radio had a chance to sit down with President Trump right after the summit with Kim. Here's the president answering Sean Hannity's questions.
We have to always fight this hoax that's going on. It's a shame. It's a very sad thing for our country.
You know, I was kind of dragged in a little bit into the Michael Cohen issue. I interviewed him many times on radio and TV. He was never my attorney. He did apologize to me for his attorney saying that in court. But I can tell you personally, he said to me at least a dozen times that he made the decision on the payments and he didn't tell you.
Yeah.
He told me personally.
No, he did, and he made the decision. And remember this, he's an attorney. Whatever decision he makes, you're supposed to rely on an attorney to make a decision. Somebody said, one of the very good Republican members today said that, he's supposed to be an attorney. He's out there doing all sorts of things. When you have an attorney, you're supposed to be able to rely on your attorney.
Attorney-client privilege?
But it's also called reliance. And he just was not much of an attorney, that I will tell you. But he went up today, and a lot of people thought he was very bad. I watched some of it. I thought it was a terrible display of dishonesty, actually.
You know, I love the president, and he and Sean Hannity have such a chemistry. Maybe it's because they're New Yorkers, but it's so fascinating. They won't stop at anything to get this man out of office. And imagine what he can do in 2 more years or 4 more years after that. And as Sean Hannity said, look, Michael Cohen talked to me. Now you have people speculating that the House Oversight Committee might be going after Sean Hannity. They might call Sean Hannity to the stand. And could you imagine if they had Sean Hannity going to the stand? By the way, Sean would make sure that his testimony was done just in time so he could do his show. That's how dedicated Sean Hannity is to radio and to television. I find it just fascinating. So here is more of that interview exclusively with Sean Hannity on your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. The president basically talking about the summit, talking about Kim, and pretty much explaining where we go from here.
He was talking to the press a little bit, and, he's not big into talking to the press, but the press came in. Look, bottom line, I think he wants to get something done, but this wasn't the right time.
Sometimes timing is everything.
I just think first of all, he's a character.
He was laughing a lot.
And he's a real personality, and he's very smart. He's sharp as you can be, and he's a real leader, and he's pretty mercurial. I don't say that necessarily in a bad way, but he's a pretty mercurial guy.
One has to wonder, and this is where we're going to deviate a little, and this is where we try to earn our authentic credibility with you. North Korea's dictator is a bad man. And maybe the president is saying this just to curry favor with Kim Jong-un to build some trust. Maybe when we take a look at what's happening in the world today, the president is doing the carrot and not the stick, because the stick, unless we are willing to go all in and take down North Korea, is not working. But let's not kid ourselves. Those people and those descendants that fought in the Korean War, we know the evil of the North Koreans. Would it be nice if, in fact, we could come to some peace agreement? I suppose. Would it be nice if we could eliminate the threat, particularly to our neighborhood, the west coast of the United States? I suppose. But the idea that Kim is a friendly guy, Kim's a murderer. Kim's a bad person. We understand what the president's saying. That's why he's president. He's making the calls. But Kim is not a nice person. And Kim and North Korea would be under already if it weren't for the Chinese that continue to prop them up. The Chinese that continue to prop them up. For without China, North Korea would be done. right? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This in just a couple days ago. We're finally getting a chance to talk about it. The Idaho Sheriff's Association has decided to come out against the legalization of hemp. And I'm all in favor of not legalizing hemp because, to me, hemp is a gateway, basically a big gateway to legalizing marijuana in the state of Idaho. And as we talked about with farmers and stuff before, it was actually Lars Larson saying marijuana grown legally in Oregon has a destructive impact on our water tables. And look, we live in a desert. I know what you're saying. Kevin Miller, it's been snowing for the past, I don't know, gosh, how many days, but we do live in a desert. But thank goodness the Idaho Sheriff's Association has decided to look things and put things in perspective along with me, Governor Little. I don't know if Governor Little's in favor of the hemp bill or not, but they've come out in opposition to legalizing hemp in Idaho. So on one hand, you're going to have the farmers, a very distinctive and powerful and hardworking group, and their lobby. And on the other side, you're going to have law enforcement, an equally influential group, clashing with this hemp bill. To me, and as Jeff the Suit says, Kevin Miller, you've never met a conspiracy that you didn't like. You're right, Jeff the Suit. On the other hand, I just think that once you get in hemp, you get in medical marijuana, you get in CBD oil, you get in gosh knows what else, and you've got issues. If you don't think that I know what I'm talking about, Lars Larson spelled it out for us last week when he did his weekly segment on Monday, talking about the cost of, edibles, the idea that the roads are going to be not as safe as they are right now, the infrastructure costs. It is crazy. Why would we want to add that to the pot here? We've got enough challenges as it is with people using their phones while they're driving their cars. Why would we want to introduce this? And people say, well, Kevin Miller, hemp is going to be great. We're going to be able to make $40,000 an acre. I don't know about that. But like I said, we've seen this movie before in California and Oregon and Colorado. And I want to thank the folks at Drug Free Idaho and keepidaho.org. Now, I know they're on other radio stations and they have wonderful TV ads. I thank you for advertising on the Kevin Miller Show on KIDO Talk Radio. We want to be the most pro-drug-free media outlet, the most friendly people to say, just say no. Have you noticed that most folks, God bless them, they're like all of us, justifying their existence in the Treasure Valley. Most media outlets go, well, what do you think? Or they'll report the news, but they'll slide it towards the pro-marijuana side in the name of news. There is one show, there is one person that says drugs are bad, marijuana is bad, hemp is bad. And I'm glad that the Sheriff's Association has come out and said this is not the right thing for the state of Idaho. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Would love for you to join the conversation. Your thoughts on the president and walking away from North Korea and the idea of the Sheriff's Association saying, just say no to hemp, little buddy. You're listening to Kevin Miller on the home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Apparently, this just in, another local headline. Boise opposes bill that would require urban renewal vote. Idaho's largest city is not pleased with legislation introduced in the House that would require a public vote on any public building, library, or sports stadium built with urban renewal funds. Oh, my goodness gracious. Somewhere, the gem of the Treasure Valley, Tea Party Bob is doing a dance this morning because he's been arguing along with his colleague Steve Ackerman about urban renewal for years and years. Other news, the House shooting down a bill that would move or legitimize the legal age of marriage in the state of Idaho. If you're under 16, you can get married. You just have to get the consent of the judge. If you're 16 or 17, your parents can give the consent. This would have said, no matter what, you can't get married until you're 16 in the state of Idaho. That's what the legislature's working on. Of course, we are hailing the decision by the Idaho Sheriff's Association to say, you know something? We're pretty cool with not having hemp here in the state of Idaho. We'll get back to that in a minute. But as we will continue to be an advocate for the people, liberals or conservatives, we play for the home team. That's the conservatives. However, the liberals want the repeal of the grocery tax too, I would imagine. This is bipartisan legislation that has not been talked about. You know, and I'm sure the folks in Boise would be more than happy that if we dropped our banner, that if we put down our swords and shields and said, you know, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen at all. Well, I think that it should happen. I think that it could happen and it will happen. And one day we will get relief. And one day we will have a government that is like our favorite form of entertainment. I'm going to tell you about that next. But first, traffic and weather together. Our time is 6:56 on KIDO Talk Radio.
Channel 7's Eric Gebert.
And I'm Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers, well, we've given them to you enough. How about this one? How many of you watch the Netflix? How many of you watch the Netflix? Do you love Netflix? You ever wonder what made Netflix so successful compared to Blockbuster Video or Hollywood Video or Movie Gallery or even HBO or the cable companies? What has made Netflix so superior? Very simply, Netflix was focused on you. Netflix was focused on the consumer. You don't like Netflix? It's no 30-day cancellation. Boom. Click, mouse click, boom, boom, you're done. Right? You can stream movies. You can binge watch movies. You are in control. Netflix is focused on the consumer and pleasing the consumer. Right? Wouldn't it be great if our government, our local government, our state government, our federal government had the Netflix mantra of focusing in on the voter, of focusing in on the consumer, on focusing in on the citizen, the taxpayer? Now that would be something, would it not? That would be something that we could all get behind. You talk about a representative republic, the Netflix model. We have the Blockbuster model that's broken. And look, we all love going to the video stores and getting the popcorn and the experience. That went out when Redbox came in. That went out when streaming came in, right? Just how crazy would it be? Remember when we thought it would be crazy that anybody would be watching a video or a movie on a phone? Let's reinvent government together. Stay with me. More next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.